We are less than a week away from Thanksgiving, and while you get ready to host family and friends, you need to make sure that your furry loved ones are also safe. Dr. Kelly Gebhardt joins us to answer all of your pet questions, including if you can feed pets that table food, what is toxic for them, and why you want to say no to those turkey bones, even though your dog is probably begging, yes, give them to me. So she's going to answer all of your questions, and you can simply just text them to us. That number right there on your screen, 336-379-5775. Please just text us questions. Please do not call. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love doing this.
I love talking about pets anytime that I can. And this is so important because we're going to have so much food around us in the next week or so. And we do want to talk about that table food when it comes to our pets. So maybe tell us about what we should know, what we should keep in mind.
So keep in mind that a little table food is okay. Portion control is the biggest. Choice of food and portion control are the two biggest things. Now, that's also a challenge for me. I'm much better doing it for my dogs than I'm myself. But making sure that whatever you choose to give them as a treat is healthy, low fat, and keeping in mind portion control. And especially another thing is making sure your pet does not have a history of intestinal sensitivities, food sensitivities, or pancreatitis, which is inflammation of the pancreas. Because if they get any food out of their normal diet or a high fatty treat meal, get into the trash, those kinds of things that can happen a lot over the holidays, then they're at increased risk of problems like vomiting, diarrhea, foreign bodies, things like that. So keeping it healthy, low calorie, and portion control is really important.
And you do have a great chart that kind of breaks down food equivalencies. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's actually from Hill's Pet Food. They have some great equivalencies. So a 10-pound cat, if thinking about portions is hard for us, right? We don't even realize portion sizes for ourselves, let alone our pets. So thinking about treats for pets, it's very important to have kind of an idea of portion control. If a 10-pound cat ate 1 ounce of cheese, that would be like us eating 3.5 hamburgers or 4 chocolate bars.
Wow.
That's an enormous treat, right? And if a 20-pound dog ate the same amount of cheese, it would be like them eating 2.5 hamburgers or 5 chocolate bars. So thinking about the size of the treat you're giving them relative to what it means to them is really important when you're thinking about what am I doing to keep my pet healthy, and yet still treating them to a little, Thanksgiving goodness.
I mean, yeah, because sometimes you just can't say no, especially when their big eyes are looking at you and they have drool coming down like my dog does. It's so hard not to say no to them. So maybe give us some healthy food options maybe for our dogs and cats.
Yeah, so sticking to the lean meats, we're going to have the turkey, maybe some ham. The lean meats are very important. Those are healthy. You don't want to give them the fatty parts, the skin, the fats and the gristle that you've trimmed off. That can definitely cause some gastroenteritis or pancreatitis. Veggies are great, steamed veggies, sweet potato or mashed potato without the fats and butters or salt. Those things are all really healthy. Green beans, squash, those things are great.
You know, what's funny with our dog, I have a golden doodle at home. He knows now because we often ask Alexa or Google if this whatever food is safe for him. So now he knows if we hear him or hear us ask Alexa, is this safe? He knows he's getting something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but it's great to have that list now for our viewers to be able to go back and check this next week to see what's going to be good. Now, speaking on the other side, some foods are toxic to dogs, and so this is probably even more so important. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so you definitely want to avoid, there are some key foods to avoid. Chocolate, we've talked a lot about that. Onions and garlic can be toxic to dogs and cats. That's really important. You want to avoid raisins, sugar-free foods that have xylitol, which are toxic to dogs. Cats typically don't get into those types of things, but you want to make sure that you're keeping those out of your dog's reach. Moldy food. So after we have all these leftovers, a lot of them go bad. We put them in the fridge, they get moldy, then we throw them out. If the dog gets into the trash or even the compost pile, the moldy food can be very toxic. Raw bread dough, if you're baking up some fresh bread and they get that raw bread dough, it can swell and rise in their stomach and actually cause basically an alcohol toxicity. A lot of cookies are made with macadamia nuts over the holidays. keeping your dogs away from macadamia nuts and those cookies is really important. And the other thing too is, we're all enjoying a little bit of, alcohol during the festivities. If the pets get into it, which we do see an increase in alcohol ingestion over the holidays and celebrations, so that can definitely make them drunk as well. So you want to avoid letting them get into alcohol. Those are some important ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, besides alcohol, if they get into any of those foods you just listed, what do they need to do, or what does a pet owner need to do?
Yeah, the first thing is, if you're concerned, call a veterinarian. Whether it's your regular vet during the day or an emergency clinic at night, you can definitely give a call and run your questions by them. And if there is a concern, they would advise you appropriately what to do. You might need to bring them in for appropriate treatment. Some toxicities, we recommend making your pet vomit and then hospitalization for supportive care. Sometimes it's just some outpatient treatment. It really depends on what they got into and how sick they are. So seeking out veterinary care when needed is going to give you the best answers for the situation for your pet.
Now, also you say to keep bones away from your pet. Which sometimes when you think of giving dogs treats, you think of giving them bones, but why is it that you want to keep them away from turkey bones?
Yeah, actually all bones is very important. Turkey bones are a big one because once they're cooked, they can splinter and cause issues. Before I was a vet, I used to give my dog bones, and now I know better. But we see a lot of issues from bones, everything from broken teeth to cuts in the mouth. The marrow bones can get stuck over the lower jaw, and then dogs usually need to be sedated to have those removed off the lower jaw. If they ingest them, it can cause foreign body obstructions, lacerations if the splinters perforate the intestinal tract. And with pork bones and rib bones in particular, they can form like a concretion or a bony blob, for a better word, in the intestinal tract that can be very hard for the dogs to pass through. So in general, bones are not recommended and can cause a lot of problems.
All right, a lot to keep in mind over the next couple of weeks as we enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. If you have any questions, keep texting them into us. That number right there on the bottom of your screen, 336-379-5775. We'll be right back.